пизда! Вали нахуй!
Well, hello, that's me again. Today is October 9th, 2025. It is Thursday, and what you see in the beginning is essentially what is happening now every day. And there are strikes on all kinds of the ammunition depots, there are the destruction of all kinds of the energy facilities in Ukraine, and this will continue. Obviously, you have to understand it is going to be continuing against the background of the white noise produced by the propaganda machine in the West, which still cannot resign itself that it turned out to be most of them are war criminals, and I will talk about it. But let's start with something which well, today is a kind of SitRep-ish thing, and I want to explain to you the dynamics of everything what is happening, even based on the, which I usually do, on Western sources, because you know what, I can always be accused, and that I have been accused a number of times that, oh yeah, Russian rah-rah, you're Russian, you know, some kind of agent or something like that. So yeah, I use most of the time, including in my books, Western sources. If I will begin to use Russian sources, believe me, the situation will be much grimmer as what for the combined West than I described to you. And so let's start with Bloomberg. And Bloomberg, what can I say? They also are full of you know what, and as any kind of the American legacy media, they are nothing more than propaganda machine. But look at this, I always like how they put those things that, oh, look at this, how many people wrote this piece. 1, 2, 3, 4 people wrote this simple piece about the fact that Russian strikes knock out more than half of Ukraine production ahead of winter. So they are correct, as you saw yourself in the previous videos when I demonstrate to you all kinds of the videos from both Russian Defense Ministry and all kinds of the other sources that, yeah, the attacks on the gas storages, especially in Western Ukraine, they continue, and also that goes towards the all kinds of the oil processing and gas production facilities, whatever Ukraine has. And as the result, yeah, that's the response to all kinds of the so-called peace initiatives, quote unquote. Of course, I'm being facetious, from the Kiev's regime and its curators in the West. And if you take a look now at the how it is done in terms of the situation on the, well, other sectors, so to speak, you can see yourself. These are things of this nature, like, you know what, all kinds of the processing plant is being destroyed. Odessa and Chernomorsk, you see, that's beautiful. Look at this. All kinds of things happening there, and this is one of the shipments of the NATO weapons, together with the escorting people from NATO countries probably from the United States. They are goners now, and that has been reported by Russians. And the pressure, so to speak, on the both front line and economically, not just on Ukraine, it is all also about the NATO and the demilitarization of it continues, as you can see yourself. In terms of Konstantinovka, if you look at it, yeah, you see Russians are on the outskirts of Konstantinovka, and they already basically fixed position there, and so that's gonna continue until Russians, do what they usually do. They surround Konstantinovka, leave a little bit of the exit for whatever is left there in terms of their so-called defenders, and they will allow them to stream out of it, and then they will be killed. And so this is just the situation with the Konstantinovka yesterday. Again, keep in mind, there is always lag. There is always something which we do not know, which is obviously then catches up to us in terms of the being informed. But reality is probably DRGs, diversion recon groups, and all kinds of other units or subunits already operate within Konstantinovka. And if you take a look, for example, today at Kupiansk, even the schemes and maps which are provided about Kupiansk, they do not reflect the reality of it, because Russians control most of the Kupiansk, and the remnants of the so-called defenders are pushed and isolated in the southern part of Kupiansk, and that means what? Yeah, that means they're gonna die unless they surrender. But this is the whole other story about the surrendering and atrocities those people commit, those it's NATO forces, let's call it what it is. Armed Forces of Ukraine is a NATO army, and fact is it was the best NATO army in history. So, and then if you take a look at the tally, yesterday. So what do we have? Yeah, you see, back to 1500 a day. It's from yesterday, and you see yourself another MLRS have been caught. 218 drones have been shot down, and Russians are using now all kinds of the means, not just in terms of the classic air defense, such as the surface-to-air missiles or even the air-to-air missiles. They use now actually anti-drones, and the production of the anti-drones also ramps up dramatically, and that is why the number which have been articulated by a number of sources, the effectiveness of even tactical level, I mean tactical zone, that means within 10 kilometer or so within the gray zone, the line of the contact, if you wish, is about 2 to 4%, and it's probably going to drop even more. So all those dramatic pictures, which especially Ukrainian propaganda and Western propaganda provide, yeah, they have one or other occasions when they succeed. Obviously, you cannot ensure yourself 100% from all kinds of the fire impact by the means of be them tactical UAVs, or even for that matter what you called operational, they would call it strategic UAVs, which are nothing more than all iterations of the older Cessna models by Poland, and they are provided to Ukraine, and Ukraine loads them with the all kinds of the explosives and tries to launch them at all kinds of the primarily civilian objects in Russia, be them all kinds of this refineries, apartment blocks, and things of this nature. Which brings us to the other issue about those FUD people, fear, uncertainty, doubt. That's what FUD or FUD stands for, and all kinds of the so-called experts in Russia, which most of them are not experts at all, and about this story which was propagated about the situation with the some shortages of gasoline somewhere in some regions of Russia. First, I want to stress that there were shortages in some regions, primarily southern regions of Russia. Yes, some refineries have been struck here and there, but it really barely affected the production of the gasoline. It was the issue of the market forces primarily. And if you listen to Mr. Novak, first vice premier in Russia and the man who was in charge of Russian energy industry for so long, and he's excellent professional, he talks about it that, yeah, it's fine fine. We're handling it. It's not the first time. So, but yeah, this is what the Western media do. And I want to stress, read my lips. Average journal working for New York Times, for CNN, BBC, for Deutsche Welle, what have you. They are genocidal maniacs. Those people are war criminals. They are in the same way in war criminals as there would have been the people from the Ministry of Propaganda of Mr. Goebbels. So, look what we have now, which is that's pretty much what is this all about. They do not work to inform American people. No, they work to, and operate on behalf of, for example, foreign governments such as CNN and NYT journalists helping Israel wage information war. Reporters from both organizations are teaching how to influence news coverage of the Jewish state. A CNN commentator and New York Times reporters are mentoring in a journalism fellowship launched to help Israel win the information war, according to the investigative outlet Drop site. So, is it in any way surprising to you? No. Yes, there's no doubt anymore. It's a cold, hard fact that most of legacy media in the United States, they are owned or staffed with people who are just genocidal Zionists. And so when you read this, I mean, what's the news? I mean, they are either Ukrainian side or Israeli side, or both. And this is what legacy media in the United States are. And the same goes for the outlets as BBC in United Kingdom. They are war criminals, simple as that. And we know what Israel does. And if you want to listen how the whole world loves Israel now, just go listen to Mr. Trump, who gave his kind of phone call to Fox News. The guy is obviously completely detached from the reality of everywhere. I mean, he is just, I don't know. It's Biden 2.0 now with its own Trumpian twist. But as Cy Hirsch stated recently, a few days back, there is a growing realization and growing concern within the Trump administration of his mental faculties. Well, yeah, there are. And obviously, when you listen to what he was doing in Quantica, after his teleprompter just evidently broke down or something like that, it was a 35-minute rant about anything, just random stuff, which it's unbelievable. But yeah, this is what Russians have to deal with. And as Mr. Rybkov stated, and well, what can I say? Well, the situation with the Russian-American relations, let me put it this way, is completely gone. I mean, in terms of any positive impulse, it has been completely extinguished. And this is the reality. Nothing we can do about it. And this was expected from the man who actually, he's narcissist. Everybody knows this. And as some people who are, well acquainted with him and who have been in his presence in private, they say, yeah, the man is extremely insecure. He's narcissist of the galactic proportion, and he constantly strives for any kind of the confirmation of his greatness. And as such, well, yeah, he's easily manipulated. He doesn't have principles. He doesn't have integrity in him, and so that is why he constantly produces all those self-contradictory statements, not within 24 hours, within minutes. And so what can I say? We have to keep in mind that he now talks about tomahawks, but let's be honest. And Tomahawk is yet another production of the cretins from the legacy media, and not only legacy media in the United States or in combined West for that matter, but also in Russia, because obviously what is a journalist? And when the people talk about they teach journalism, there's no such profession as journalism. It doesn't exist. It's completely made up thing to get retards who do not know even what basic linear or quadratic equation is, or how the basic physics operates, and they stick them into those schools full of journalism, and 90%, well, 99% of them who go out of it, they're morons, and they are, as Jim Stoppard stated, that the only thing which, if you want to change the world, that means control it. What do you do? Journalism is the, the first thing to do. And yeah, journalism doesn't exist as a profession. It's not legitimate profession. The same as political science degree is not legitimate degree. It's the same as there's no such science as political science. And so when we talk about it, you have people who are shyster by the nature, who wants it easy. Some of them go to the combat zones and things of this nature. But yeah, if you talk about the correspondents, and especially military correspondents, who are usually professional people, real professional people. That's the whole other story. They are not journalists, if you wish. But in the combined West, journalism is nothing more than essentially the legalization of the prostitution. It is all about how, how you put those people, which turned out to be true from what I heard, when the senators and congressmen attend the AIPAC gatherings in Washington, they literally have the barcodes. And actually, those people from Israel, they, who work for Israel, they scan their barcodes in terms of the donations. I mean, my God, it's United States. What happened to this country? I don't recognize this country, but this is what it is. And so that's what we have. And I will continue to expose this as much as possible, as long as possible. And if people, there are always people who come out in the, in the comment section and tell that, oh yeah, you cannot continue the same, to repeat this again. No, I will. I will continue to repeat it again and again and again and expose them, because this is the only way to deal with this. But yes, in terms of their professional human qualities, most of them are human trash. They are just garbage. And so they are, as already stated, many are war criminals, and they have to be judged in the procedure similar to the Nuremberg trial in the, crimes against humanity. American media, American legacy media, they deserved it wholly and fully. And what can I say? They are also basically influencing on the delusion of Mr. Trump, who still believes that somehow United States can handle what is happening. It cannot. And, we know that Mr. Trump really wants to get his Nobel Prize. And here's actually, here's the Thailand says that Cambodian moves are key for peace, not Trump's mediation. As you can see yourself, you see those people are negotiating between themselves, but Mr. Trump is good at, as the United States military, for example, in terms of stolen valor. And as they, that United States single-handedly defeated Nazis, United States had defeated, Spartacus uprising and things of this nature. So, now people just coming out to this saying, yeah, it's all BS. I mean, he probably made a couple of calls, but you know what, after his statement that the whole world loves Israel, well, what can I say? This is what we have as the president of the United States today. Is it a sad situation? Oh, it's absolutely sad. It is also a catastrophe, because obviously, as Mr. Ripkov already stated, United States failed to grasp the log which Russia was providing to the United States, and ability to crawl out of this mess. Now there will be no longer, there will be only a straw at which people especially Mr. Trump, will be grasping at, because he believes of those fairy tales, because he's utterly incompetent man. He is a showman, and he's a real estate shyster from New York who has been bankrupt 7 times. I believe 7 times. Some people say it's 8. But the point is, that tells you everything you need to know about this guy with the daddy issues, who obviously inherited some wealth from his daddy, who obviously didn't like him much, and that's basically well-colored all his life. And if we go further in terms of Mr. Trump and how it is all basically represented today in the United States as he just, great statesman, which he is not. Here it is. And this is very much related to the point of, like Larry Johnson also was talking about it, and Larry knows the this issue pretty well, that when the Assad's government fell, due to basically Arab military leaders being most of them, as always, prostitutes and for sale. Here is the he told about the corks flying from the champagne in Langley and in MI6, because obviously those people do not think strategically. They are incapable of doing this. Here is the situation which very many people believe that, oh my God, Russians are gone. No. And here is which is true, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. The Syrian leadership is interested in the presence of the Russian Federation in the Republic. You remember that how the Assad government fell. Obviously, Assad is largely to blame, together with his prostitute generals, who, yeah, the prostitutes, they are for sale. This is a typical situation in the Arab militaries. And but the point is, no matter how we speak about Jolani, who is a head chopper, who suddenly, dressed himself into all kinds of the civilian clothes, like suits, and looks very European, and then suddenly all this new government of Syria, they talk to Russians and ask them not to leave. People say, oh no, those are head choppers, now they want Russian, especially the air base in Khmeimim, which is still very active, to be essentially the shield against Israel. Yes, they want that. That's absolutely true. Why Russians negotiating? I am on the record. If you go to my blog and you listen to read it and listen to many of my videos, Russians will talk to the devil. Because you cannot kill the devil per se, but you can do the deal with essentially something which, it's cold steel barrel of the gun down the devil. Well, if you look attentively, not proverbial devil, but devils around the world. Yeah, there are interests there, and the same as Russians recognize now Taliban as the government of Afghanistan. So you may say, oh, there is no morality in this. Oh, yes, there is. And that is what I'm saying constantly for people who do not understand the whole picture globally, that essentially the game which is ongoing right now is to make sure and calm down things around the world. Because obviously what is happening now with the combined West, there will be all kinds of the provocations, all kinds of the probably attempts of the false flag, and we know there will be, so that Russia has her hands untied in many respects and deal with the issues at hand, which are strategic. And actually, to those people, to those boys and girls, or fanboys and fangirls who do not understand, if you do not understand it, it's about your lives. It's about the lives of whom you love, if you love anybody except for yourself, and those, sloganeering morons who continue to say that Russia should do this and should do that. No, Russia is doing exactly what is supposed to be done today, because you have essentially a rogue power with moron president, and it has the second nuclear arsenal in the world. And if you take a look, it's SIPRI, while SIPRI is a bunch of morons also in Stockholm. They're Swedes, they're losers essentially. But here is the latest data on the 2024 on the nuclear arsenal warhead inventories. So these two top guys, if that thing goes up in action, the whole world dies, including you guys who say that, oh yeah, Russia should do this and that. No, Russia owes nothing to anybody, and that has to be understood, and it will proceed in dealing with for its own interest, but primarily also with the overall geopolitical global interest, which is of course preservation of the human civilization. Because obviously when you look attentively at the situation in the White House or Washington DC, it's a madhouse, it's a nut job central, and that's what Russia does, and it tries to save the world. Indeed, this, you cannot basically deny this simple fact. So whenever anybody comes up with some demands that Russians should do this and should do that, guys, when you reach the level of Mr. Putin and those briefs, from the best human intelligence in the world and great signal intelligence and general staff and other people basically providing him the information which is highly classified, then you will have something to say. Other than that, the same as me, we are hoi polloi. We are basically people down there and listening to what is happening on the, what up there. And nothing could be changed about it. What could be changed is for some people to start learning things and be able to see through the fog which separates the political and military political tops in the world from us, mere mortals. Well, this proverbial hoi polloi, because we have to recognize what is going on there. And what is going on there is this. First, Mr. Medvedev arrives to Pyongyang to at the celebration of the 80th anniversary of the Communist Party of North Korea. And it's a huge event, really. And then we, of course, have this situation. This is the one of the allies of Mr. Macron. Look at this guy. He looks weird. I mean, together with like Macron and his whatever the thing he's married to and or wedded to, for that matter, I don't know. But the point is, if you take a look at him and what he says, I'm not obviously he's speaks in French here at the French television. He talks about that Macron is absolutely mad. Yeah, that's his ally. This is the guy who supported him. And he says that he probably has some childhood trauma. Yeah, he does. And we probably know what kind of trauma is this. And this is the boy. I mean, he never graduated to the level of the statesmanship but even Jacques Chirac, forget about de Gaulle. But, when you have your own people saying that you are mad and that you are having the, psychological or psychiatric issues, yeah, didn't we tell you about this? French, you elected this. Enjoy. And nobody cares whatever their, poll numbers now for Macron are, because he was re-elected twice. I mean, elected and re-elected. And so it's France's fate, and that's what is going to happen to France, and nothing we can do about it. And for that matter, French also can do nothing about it, because the only thing they care about, evidently, is not the pride for the country, which is disintegrating, or for that matter, anything else, which constitutes once great French culture. It is all about stomach. Nothing wrong with being stomach. Make no mistake. We are all economic animals. We know, and I saw it firsthand, what being poor, let alone when being miserable and having nothing for in your life is. It's a horrible situation. It shouldn't exist, especially in the rich countries such as for example, the United States. But it does exist, and this is all the result of the political and economic system, which is basically disintegrating. It is disintegrating. It is disintegrating in Europe very fast. And for latest data on the industrial output in Germany, for example, it dropped more than 4.5%. That's catastrophe, guys. And the same goes for the United States. It's a rich country, but when you look at actually what is happening economically, Americans are hurting. Mr. Trump thinks that he's great. America is doing great. So you cannot explain it to him. You cannot explain to moron that he's moron because he's moron. Plus, obviously, he is surrounded, for the most part, by other shysters and carriers who do not care about who he is. They are there to pursue their own agendas. And in conclusion, in this SitRep, Mr. Aliyev made a huge strategic mistake. And obviously, Mr. Putin right now is in Dushanbe, in Tajikistan. And this is the meeting of the CIAs, the Commonwealth of the Independent State. And suddenly, Mr. Aliyev, who, his administration and Azeri interests have been greatly diminished in Ukraine, because you better not sit on the two chairs, especially when you are bordering Russia. But here it is, suddenly, Aliyev is in Dushanbe to meet Putin. Azerbaijani president thanks Putin for personal role in plane crash probe. Remember that plane? Baku has no doubt that the Russian investigation into the incident will be unbiased, Ilham Aliyev has said. Well, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev has thanked his counterpart, and they are meeting right now, and he talks suddenly very pleasant things about that expressing gratitude for extensive information on the last year's December tragedy, adding that the officials of the two nations have been in constant contact over the incident. You are personally keeping the investigation process under control, and we have no doubt that it will establish all the facts in an unbiased manner, he told Putin. Yes, Vladimir Putin disclosed to Ilham Aliyev officially today that actually the reason this plane, which has been struck in the airspace of Russia, because at that time there were, as basically very many people suspected, which was only basically natural, is that there were two drones. No, I believe there was one Ukrainian drone in the air in the same vicinity of this passenger plane, and that it was struck by the not missiles. The Ukrainian drone was shot down by two Panzer missiles, but obviously shrapnel, not even shrapnel, those remnants of, that is why you can see very different, very bizarre holes in the fuselage of this airplane. They hit that airplane. That if obviously the Panzer missile would explode near it, it wouldn't fly for more than almost 300 miles to Kazakhstan over the Caspian Sea. So, and in this case, for Mr. Aliyev, it's a kind of reconciliation and looking for the peaceful solution with Russia, especially after Russians, I mean, they dealt a deadly blow to essentially what was called Azeri diaspora in Russia. Make no mistake, there are many Azeri people who are, you know what, law-abiding people. They work in Russia. And many of them are citizens actually. But diaspora, what is diaspora? Diaspora very often is not a euphemism for the organized crime group. Azeri diaspora is not there anymore. There are still many Azeris who live in Russia, who work and things of this nature, but it was a really clear message to Mr. Aliyev that you have to, you know what, follow with proper political, so to speak, follow a proper political path, especially since transportation minister of Russia is now in Baku, and they're discussing, guess what? Yeah, north-south transport corridor. Suddenly things are getting back to more or less normal between Russia and Azerbaijan. And indeed, Turkey, well, yeah, there is obviously very strong pro-Turkish sentiment on Azerbaijan, but Turkey is not capable, is pulling Azerbaijan out of some economic rut. Russia can. And that's the whole thing. And it's very positive development. And obviously, we'll see what will be the final communique between the leaders of the Commonwealth of Independent States. And what can I say? That will be interesting to follow. So this is what I wanted to tell you today during this SitRep for the 9th of October. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on the Patreon or buy me a coffee and two. That will keep me in this business, guys. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.